All right, good evening, everyone. Bonsoir tout le monde. Welcome to the June 24th council meeting. Roll call, all members of council are present. Territorial land acknowledgement statement and moment of reflection. If I can ask everyone to stand.
Nous reconnaissons que nous sommes sur le territoire non cédé des Anishinaabe et les terres traditionnelles des peuples Haudenosaunee, Huron-Wendat et Kanien'kehá:ka. Nous reconnaissons notre obligation commune de respecter, d'honorer et de préserver ces terres et les ressources naturelles qu'elles contiennent.
Whereas Canada is founded upon principles that recognize the supremacy of God and the rule of law, let us take a moment of personal reflection.
Thank you, everyone. Additions, deletions, or amendments to the agenda. Additions, deletions, or amendments. Seeing none. Adoption of the, for the agenda, I would like to retrieve 18A. And I would like to add a closed session at 22A based on rapport verbal, litige éventuel, sous les articles 239, 2, E et F. Et je vais demander à Mme Camille Laflamme de lire. Et, oui, c'est ça, exactement. Si vous pourriez lire, s'il vous plaît, le raisonnement.
Oui, Monsieur le maire. Et on peut ajouter aussi que c'est un rapport verbal. Et puis, ça va être discuté après la section numéro 7. C'est
ça. Et puis, je vais même rajouter qu'on va aller, pour la huis clos, à place de demander à tout le monde de sortir, on va aller dans la salle derrière.
C'est bien ça.
Merci.
Donc, je vais les lire en anglais. In English, so Section 239(2)(e) is litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board. And item F, like Fern, which is advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose.
Merci beaucoup. Alors, just to reconfirm with everyone, this will be added following item 7 on the agenda. So I need a mover and a seconder to adopt the agenda as amended. Moved by Councillor Lawrence, seconded by Conseillère Deacon. All in favor? Thank you. The agenda has been adopted. Thank you. Disclosure of pecuniary interest. Seeing and hearing none. Adoption of minutes. So special council minutes from June 10th, 2024, regular council minutes of June 10th, 2024, special council minutes of June 17th, 2024. I need a motion to approve the following minutes as presented. So this is moved by Councillor Lalonde, seconded by Councillor Deacon. All in favor? Thank you very much. And so we will proceed at the hour of 6:06 to a closed session. Just for everyone that's in attendance, so the closed session simply means that we have matters, as Madame Camille Laflamme discussed, that need to be done behind closed doors. This will only take a few minutes, and we'll do those, and we'll be right back moving forward with the agenda. Okay, thank you very much. Oh, I need a mover and a seconder for closed session. So moved by Councillor Lorraine, seconded by Councillor Lalonde. Yeah, let's go back. Sorry. So I need a move by Councillor Lorraine, seconded by Councillor Deacon. All in favor? Thank you. All right. Merci, Joanne. OK, Madame Caméré,
Yes, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
So we're back at 6:13, and the report out of closed session is that council was briefed on this subject.
merci, thank you. Okay, number 8, presentations. We have none. Number 9, delegations, petitions. Petition submitted by Marie-Josée St-Pierre requesting a four-way stop and advanced rumble lines at the intersection of St-Pierre Road and Route 200 in Embrun. Alors, si je peux vous demander de venir devant et juste appuyer sur le micro, s'assurer qu'il est allumé. Et la parole est à vous.
Bonsoir, Monsieur le maire et chers membres du Conseil et tous les membres dans l'audience. I'm here tonight to present a petition that I started on June 14th. As of tonight, it has collected just shy of 1,700 signatures. Le 14 juin dernier, un accident tragique a eu lieu à l'intersection du chemin Saint-Pierre de la route 200 à Embrun. Au moment de créer la pétition, je ne savais pas encore que celle-ci avait fait malheureusement des victimes et blessés graves. Je ne connais pas les victimes ni les blessés, j'ai tout simplement agi en tant que bonne citoyenne. I would like to thank the affected families for their support and gratitude towards my initiative, some of whom are here tonight to support. As a long-time resident, I know it's not the first critical or fatal accident at that specific intersection. Russell Township is a thriving community that has seen major growth and is on a path to continued expansion. Cette croissance démographique a entraîné une augmentation significative du trafic local. Certains diront que c'est parce que plusieurs gens travaillent maintenant de la maison. Oui, peut-être. Certains diront peut-être que le transport en commun ici à Ottawa n'est pas une solution pratique en ce moment. Peut-être. The reality is that the village of Embrun has doubled. Yes, doubled in population in the last 20 years. Sadly, the road system has not seen many changes. Our country roads with speed limits of 80 kilometers an hour are no longer being used by residents to simply go to their homes or farmers to go to their farms. These roadways are now being used to travel from our town to the big city, to travel to a neighboring town, and in more recent years to even bypass the busy traffic on the main streets in the village. Le canton de Russell a le pouvoir et la responsabilité d'assurer la sécurité routière de ses résidents et visiteurs dans leurs déplacements quotidiens. La pétition de près de 1700 signatures que je vous présente ici ce soir est pour demander au canton de Russell de prendre des mesures immédiates afin de prévenir d'autres événements terribles à l'intersection du chemin Saint-Pierre et de la route 200, et à long terme d'évaluer toutes les intersections dont la limite de vitesse est plus de 80 km/h. A four-way stop with rumble line is what I'm proposing with this petition. I understand that this proposition might not be the best long-term solution, but it would prevent high-speed collisions now. We don't have to look very far to see to have example of that it works in other communities. On Frankenny Road going towards Orleans, four-way intersection have big four-way stops. If you go in Bear Brook at the intersection of Russell Road and Devine, which is like 5 minutes from here, the shoulders are paved with white edging and rumble lines ahead of all stops. Each of these measures contribute to reduce high-speed collisions. Safety should be a priority and not an afterthought. Les coûts et temps requis pour faire ces changements sont minimes pour le canton, contrairement aux victimes qui, eux, malheureusement, ont payé avec leur vie. Pour terminer, j'aimerais lire un court message qui vient de la famille Smith qui m'ont contacté et qui m'ont demandé de lire un petit mot. So from the Smith family, Mayor and honorable members of council for Russell Township, as you are already aware, our daughter was killed in a car accident that occurred on Route 200 and St-Pierre Road in Embrun on Friday, June 14th at 6:35 p.m. Her fiancé was severely injured in that accident and remains in the ICU. If you have children, I ask you to take a moment to reflect on the impact this would have on your family. It has been the hardest thing any of us in our family has ever had to face. The one thing that has added to our distress is finding out that she was not the first person to be killed or blessée, sorry, at this intersection, and yet to date, nothing has been done to reduce the risk. Her death was preventable, so I invite you to tell us the number. How many need to die of a preventable death before action is taken? Mayor, you told CTV if someone is going to miss a stop, they're going to miss a stop. Adding another stop doesn't necessarily solve the problem. Perhaps a four-way stop is not the long-term solution. However, in the short term, it would have saved her daughter's life. That 10, 20 seconds for her to stop at the stop sign would have meant that her car was not in the intersection when the other driver ran it. She would have called us that night and it would have told us about a driver that blew through the stop sign and what close call it was. Instead, we will never hear her voice again. Respectfully, a four-way stop with rumble stripes can be done now while you wait for the final report to come through in a few months. In our area, there's also added signs and flashing lights at one of our four-way stops to warn drivers in high collision intersection. It has made a huge difference. It has saved lives. We implore you, it's been 1 week and 3 days since her daughter died. Don't wait any longer. Merci de nous avoir écoutés.
OK, merci. Merci beaucoup, Mme St-Pierre, pour avoir fait l'effort de commencer la pétition et pour votre implication in this very sad story. So just to add some information here, so I think it's the information is available. I just want to confirm. I believe on April 8th, we've asked staff to review all our regional crossings, and I believe there are about 16 or 17 of these crossings, Monsieur Bourgon.
Yeah, that's correct. And just to be more precise, it's intersection without already a four-way stop.
Okay, thank you. And this is and we are expecting a report to council with recommendations on that as of now, somewhere in August.
Yeah, that's
okay.
correct.
Okay. So, any comments, members of council? Yeah, Councilor Lauren.
I would just like to ask that if that report were to come to staff sooner, that council be called back before the August 24th meeting, 26th meeting, whatever that date is, to hold a special meeting of council to review the findings of that report. That would be, I think that's the least we can do on that one. Thank you.
Absolutely. Councilor Deakin?
I would be favorable to that as well, as soon as the report is prepared.
Okay, given the nature of the situation, so I guess we would like to propose to staff to have this as soon as possible so that decisions could be made. I would also ask staff to look at any additional mitigation opportunities around this and come back to us with a recommendation as soon as possible on that for council to look at. Monsieur Godin?
Merci, Monsieur le Maire. Bonsoir, Chambre du Conseil. So yes, we've taken note of your comments and requests. So we can definitely bring, if the information is ready before that August, I think it's 27th meeting, we can definitely call for a special meeting to get this matter resolved as quickly as possible.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments, questions? Members of staff, members of council? Thank you very much. Thank you. Merci encore une fois pour l'information que vous avez partagée avec nous. On va aller de l'avant, essayer de résoudre ça au plus vite possible. Merci. All right, moving forward. So just if you are interested in staying, we're going to move through our agenda. You're welcome to stay. We're always happy to have members of our community here, but we're going to move through the agenda. Thank you. All right, so item 10, consent items. All items listed under the consent items will be enacted by one motion. A majority vote is required for the addition of consent items. There will be no separate discussions on these unless a request is made prior to the time. Council votes on the motion that a consent item is to be separated from the motion. The separated item shall then be considered immediately thereafter. So I'll just wait for a second here. OK, alors, motion que tous les documents énumérés sous les points contenants soient reçus tels que présentés. A. Demande pour le programme de subvention communautaire du département de Parcs et Loisirs, budget 2024. 10B, procès verbal du comité consultatif sur la diversité, l'équité et l'inclusion communautaire du 8 février 2024. Et C, liste des comptes mai 2024. I need a mover and a seconder. It's moved by Councillor Lauren, seconded by Councillor Deakin. All in favor? Thank you. OK. Numéro 11, rapport des départements et comités du Conseil. Alors, 11A, mise à jour sur le complexe récréatif, rapport PR 2024-09. Que le Conseil reçoive le rapport PR 2024-09 daté du 24 juin 2024 et adopte 1. Le règlement proposé autorisant le maire et la greffière à signer l'entente pour l'attribution du contrat à McDonald Brothers Constructions, Inc. pour 86 75 000 pour la construction du complexe récréatif. 2. Une exemption au règlement sur les frais permis de construction afin que le département de construction facture seulement pour le temps travaillé des employés ainsi que les frais généraux. Et 3. Une exemption à la politique municipale à l'achat qui permettra une délégation d'autorité à l'intérieur de la contingence de construction de 5 %. Alors, Monsieur Godin, the floor is yours.
Merci, Monsieur le maire. Donc, j'aimerais laisser la parole à Mme Céline Victor pour lui donner l'honneur de présenter ce rapport très important.
Merci.
Thank you, Mr. Godin, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Yes, I think it is an honor to be presenting maybe one of the final report, at least to award the contract to the general contractor who will be building our recreation complex in the upcoming 2 years. So like Mr. Mayor already mentioned, tonight we're here to propose and ask the mayor and the clerk to be authorized to sign the contract for the general contractor and also an exemption for the building permit bylaw so that the project will be only invoiced for the staff time, and also an exemption from the purchasing policy that would allow the authority to the administration to approve change orders that would fall within the 5% construction contingency included in the financial plan. So we already had a special council last Monday that did explain all the process that we had held for the general contractor process. And then also we had an updated financial plan. So tonight we would like to give you another final update to the financial plan because we've tweaked a few things. And I think Monsieur Dagenet, the Director of Finance, is ready to proceed with that. So I will leave the floor to Sébastien.
Merci, Monsieur Dagenet.
Bonsoir, chers membres du Conseil. Suite à la présentation du plan financier de lundi passé, de nombreuses questions et commentaires nous ont été acheminés au sujet du complexe récréatif. Nous avons ajusté notre présentation en conséquence, en ajoutant certaines informations et en expliquant plus en détail certaines diapositives. Nous avons également ajouté une annexe questions et réponses au rapport qui montre les questions que nous avons reçues ces dernières semaines, ainsi que les réponses que nous y avons apportées. Nous aimerions remercier vous, les conseillers, ainsi que tous les résidents qui ont pris le temps de nous écrire ces dernières semaines. Ce projet est de haute importance pour la municipalité et nous sommes heureux de voir que les résidents s'impliquent dans le processus décisionnel. Ce soir, notre objectif est de vous montrer les répercussions des coûts de construction sur notre stratégie financière et sur la santé financière de la municipalité. Nous aborderons également les risques associés à un tel prêt pour la municipalité. Prochaine slide. Comme vous pouvez voir sur cette diapositive, le soumissionnaire le plus bas pour le coût de construction s'élève à 86 075 000. Ce coût inclut tous les frais liés à la construction du complexe. En plus de cette soumission, nous avons des frais non liés à la construction à encourir lors de la construction. Nous avons séparé ces frais en 2 colonnes. La première indique les coûts que nous avons déjà encourus et que nous avons financés avec nos réserves. La deuxième colonne montre les coûts estimatifs des frais de consultant, permis, frais légaux, etc. Comme nous l'avons expliqué la semaine dernière, nous allons financer la construction du complexe récréatif avec un prêt à court terme spécialement conçu pour financer ce style de projet. Au lieu de recevoir une somme forfaitaire au départ, les fonds sont décaissés par phase à mesure que le projet avance. Et nous allons seulement devoir payer les intérêts sur ces décaissements. Ce prêt à court terme sera financé par Infrastructure Ontario, qui offre des taux très compétitifs pour des municipalités comme la nôtre. Nous avons obtenu l'approbation de leur conseil d'administration la semaine dernière. Nous n'avons fait aucune modification à la prochaine diapositive. La prochaine. Vers la fin 2026, à la fin de la construction, nous convertirons le prêt à court terme en un prêt à terme qui fonctionnera un peu comme une hypothèque. Nous aurons la possibilité de décider de la durée du terme de l'amortissement et on recevra les taux d'intérêt qui s'y rapportent. Nous avons créé 2 scénarios à des fins de comparaison pour évaluer les effets sur nos résultats financiers d'un prêt d'une durée de 25 ans et d'un prêt d'une durée de 30 ans. Le taux d'intérêt utilisé dans les 2 scénarios est le même, soit le taux actuellement offert par Infrastructure Ontario, soit de 4,72 %. Lors de la dernière réunion, nous avons été invités à expliquer les prêts existants de la municipalité de Russell et comment ils sont financés. Nous avons donc ajouté cette information.
Excusez-moi, M. Dagenet.
Oui.
Can I just ask in the room that we listen to the presentation? Thank you.
Nous avons donc ajouté cette information sur cette diapositive qui montre que les prêts financés par la taxation arriveront à échéance principalement dans les 4 prochaines années. Quant aux autres prêts, qui sont principalement financés par le DC d'eau et égout, 3 d'entre eux arriveront à échéance en 2026. L'autre prêt, contracté en 2011 pour financer le projet d'approvisionnement en eau de la Ville d'Ottawa, arrivera à échéance en 2041. Avec les études menées au cours de la dernière année, nous avons identifié plusieurs projets d'infrastructures majeurs à venir. Comment pourrons-nous permettre de financer ces projets dans les années à venir? À première vue, les exigences financières de ces projets peuvent sembler intimidantes. Cependant, c'est précisément pourquoi nous menons ces études. Être proactif et planifier à l'avance pour nous assurer de ne pas devoir entreprendre tous ces projets la même année, ou pire encore, les traiter en urgence en raison d'une structure défaillance ou de déficit. Un mot crucial dans ce contexte est la planification. Maintenant que nous sommes conscients de ces projets à venir, nous devons les planifier aussi méticuleusement que nous l'avons fait pour notre complexe. Nos arénas vieillissaient et se détérioraient. Une rénovation ou une reconstruction était nécessaire. En 2018, nous avons pris la décision importante de les reconstruire et simultanément, avons saisi l'occasion d'ajouter une piscine intérieure et une salle communautaire. Une stratégie financière a été mise en place et à ce jour, elle tient bon malgré de nombreux défis. Dans les mois à venir, nous développerons une stratégie financière pour mener à bien ces projets qui seraient inclus dans le budget 2025. La principale différence entre ces projets réside dans leur méthode de financement. Le complexe sera financé par la taxation et les DC des parcs et loisirs, tandis que la majorité des projets futures d'infrastructures sera soutenu par les frais d'utilisation et les DC pour l'eau et égout. Comme vous pouvez voir, comme vous pouvez le voir sur le graphique à la diapositive 7, donc la prochaine, dans le scénario 1, un paiement annuel de 1 million correspond à une capacité de prêt supplémentaire de plus de 14 millions sur une durée de 25 ans à un taux d'intérêt de 4,72 %. D'ici 2027, en tenant compte des prêts actuels et du prêt pour le complexe, la municipalité déposera d'une capacité de prêt supplémentaire de plus de 32 millions. En regardant vers 2034, cette capacité de prêt supplémentaire augmentera à plus de 88 millions. Sur la diapositive 8, dans le scénario 2, un paiement annuel de 1 million correspond à une capacité de prêt supplémentaire de plus de 16 millions sur une durée de 30 ans à un taux d'intérêt de 4,72 %. D'ici 2027, en tenant compte des prêts actuels et du prêt pour le complexe, la municipalité disposera d'une capacité de prêt supplémentaire de plus de 43 millions. Et en regardant vers 2034, cette capacité de prêt supplémentaire augmentera à plus de 104 millions. La municipalité connaît actuellement une croissance significative. Et comme toute entreprise privée en expansion, l'emprunt est souvent indispensable. Peu d'entreprises ont réussi à accroître sans recouvrir aux prêts. De même, notre capacité d'emprunt est un outil crucial pour financer nos projets futurs. Utiliser cette capacité de manière judicieuse nous permettra non seulement de croître, mais aussi d'offrir des services améliorés à nos résidents. La municipalité se retrouve à un tournant crucial marqué par la mise en œuvre de nombreux projets majeurs sur les 10 prochaines années. Bien que financées différemment, ces initiatives partagent un objectif commun: améliorer la qualité de vie de nos résidents. Nous avons de nombreuses options et nous veillerons à ce que les utilisateurs existants contribuent au financement de l'entretien de leurs services, tandis que les nouveaux utilisateurs couvriront la demande accrue en services. En fin de compte, pour que la municipalité continue de croître, disposer d'installations récréatives répondant aux besoins de la communauté est tout aussi importante que d'avoir une infrastructure robuste. À la prochaine diapositive, nous avons reçu quelques questions concernant les tableaux présentés, donc nous avons apporté quelques petits changements pour mieux illustrer l'origine des fonds. Comme vous pouvez le voir maintenant, nous avons retiré la contribution municipale courante qui était incluse dans les revenus et l'avons ajoutée dans la partie du flux de trésorerie. Cela montre qu'en 2027, les 713 253 $ de taxation qui étaient utilisés pour financer les opérations de nos arénas et salles actuelles seront désormais utilisés pour financer le complexe. Pour la gestion des actifs, le Asset Management Reserve, nous avons inclus un montant chaque année pour couvrir ce type de dépenses. Ce montant augmentera au fil du temps, car par exemple, pour les premières années, tous les équipements seront neufs et sous garantie. Lorsque le projet du complexe sera approuvé, nous pourrons réaliser une étude sur nos besoins en gestion d'actifs et ajuster notre stratégie en conséquence. L'objectif ultime est de reconstituer cette réserve à la fin de la durée du prêt en utilisant les montants alloués au paiement pour cette réserve. Cependant, nous sommes conscients que certains équipements devront être remplacés avant les 25 ans. De plus, nous remarquons que les revenus n'augmentent pas proportionnellement aux dépenses si on compare 2028 avec 2029 et ainsi de suite. Cela est causé par le fait que nous avons indexé les coûts d'énergie à 5 %, tandis que nos dépenses et le reste de nos revenus sont indexés à 2 %. Avant la fin de la construction, nous vous présenterons un nouveau budget opérationnel plus détaillé et soyez assurés que nous ajusterons nos frais d'utilisation en conséquence pour qu'ils couvrent les augmentations réelles de nos dépenses. Nous n'avons fait aucun changement pour la diapositive 11 et 12. Donc, en conclusion, nous recommandons de poursuivre le projet de construction, ne pas modifier la stratégie financière pour l'instant, car de nombreux facteurs peuvent jouer en notre faveur dans les prochaines années, dont la tendance à la baisse des taux d'intérêt, la possibilité de choisir une durée de 30 ans et l'impact des coûts de construction d'imprévus. Lors des discussions du budget 2026, nous allons avoir une idée plus précise de la date de fin de construction du projet et des coûts de construction imprévus, ce qui nous donnera le temps d'ajuster la stratégie financière si nécessaire. Merci.
Merci beaucoup, M. Dagenet, à vous et à votre équipe pour un merveilleux travail cette semaine. Je sais qu'on vous a envoyé beaucoup de questions et j'apprécie beaucoup l'effort et la clarité to get those questions answered. So I'm going to open the floor to members of council. Any questions and comments? Councillor Deakin.
Thank you. I just had a question that stemmed from the last meeting on this topic. The consultant was listing some of the reasons that some of the risks to pausing or delaying the project, as I recall. And one of the reasons that was mentioned was the footprint of the building having already been established and that work having been completed, and the possibility of expanding the footprint of that building, making that work very difficult to redo or amend. And I was looking back at previous meetings. The council here approved the work for those soil amendments on November 2nd, 2023. And we changed the amenities. We voted to change the amenities on November 9th, 2023. So I'd just like some clarification. It was brought to me by a resident regarding how that contract played out, if there were any amendments or in scope to that contract after November 9th that would, just wanted to make sure checks and balances that was a consideration for moving forward and would have been a risk to revisit.
Thank you, Councillor Deakin. Monsieur Godin, Monsieur Dagenet, Monsieur Bourgon.
Merci, Mr. Mayor. And that's a great question, Councillor Deakin. I think I can take this one because I just had the confirmation from our project managers. So like you mentioned the dates, and you're right, the contract for the soil improvement was given before the downsizing of the scope. But the downsizing of the scope did come just a week later, and following those decisions, there was modifications made to that soil improvement contract. So what Mr. Lecari was saying last week, or the week prior, is accurate in the sense that if we do decide to make some changes to the footprint of the building at this point in time, there would be some further studies and further work to be done to take that into consideration.
Follow-up, Councillor Deakin.
Thank you. I think I do have some follow-up questions. Probably not likely available tonight, but just wondering how that did change the financial picture at that point with that contract.
Monsieur Godin.
Merci, Mr. Mayor. So you're right, I don't have that information with me now, so unless one of my colleagues do, it's something we can definitely circle back to you.
Okay, it'd be great to get that clarification in terms of the timing and process on that. Councillor Lauren.
I'm glad that we are where we are in this process. It's been a long time coming. There's been a lot of work on everyone's part, whether it be staff, whether it be the public, whether it be council, multiple councils now at this point, and to get to the point where we've done our due diligence, we've done our budgeting, our aspect, we've gone to tender, we've got construction costs now, and it met those objectives. I think that I'm at this point satisfied that we move forward with this project and award this contract tonight. The one thing that I would like to pull this out and vote on it separately. I'd just like clarification on number 3 of the report, or of the resolution, an exemption of the municipal purchasing policy delegation delegating the authority to administration to approve change orders that fall within the 5% construction cost, including the financial plan. I think we need to add with a report to council. If council is going to delegate that authority, I would want to see a report to council on that, not necessarily to approve it and delay, but that we get a report to tell us where we're at so that we can then look and say, okay, well, you've now, I think the 5% is 4.3 million, and whatever the number is, it's over $4 million. That, you know, we can see, okay, well, now you're at 3.8 million of that number. What's anticipated going forward? You know, do we have to adjust? What do we have to do here to stay within that range? So I'd like to know where we're at. So I think I might make an amendment to that, asking for that report to come to council.
So just to clarify, so I have asked Mr. Godin already that I would like to have that item as a standing item through the construction process to make sure that that we are on point on the financial side of things. So I'm comfortable that we amend this to include that. Monsieur Godin?
Merci, Monsieur Maire, and that's a great suggestion, Councillor Lauren. And definitely, it was our intent. We didn't include in the report, but to keep council informed as far as the progress of the project, and as far as the use of the contingency, we can definitely include that in our progress reports.
Any other comments, Councillor Lauren?
And just to confirm that within the scope of the contract that would be awarded, should council agree tonight, the project manager still has the ability to work with staff on some of the suggestions that were made over the course of the last month, and as long as they're within certain parameters, make adjustments within the footprint?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So the more that we advance, I believe the more that becomes complicated. I believe, and I don't know if the consultant wants to speak on this, but if there are some changes that we want to pursue or to evaluate, it would probably be best to have those discussions early on in that contract with the GC, with the architects and the GC and the project manager, so that we can get all those things cleared up right out of the bat. I would. That being said, I think that was a message from Mr. Lecary when he spoke last time, where there are maybe two categories of changes, some that are major and some that are minor.
Yep.
If they are minor, definitely it's something that can be looked at.
That's just that's all I wanted to confirm. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lauren. Councillor Deacon.
Building on Councillor Lorraine's comments, I just wanted to say how grateful I am for the hard work and the dialogue, especially in these last couple of months, engagement from the community members. And I think that dialogue is more important than ever. I just wanted to update and comment that I've received messages this week still from community members who on multiple occasions expressed their willingness to continue to lend support to the project, providing feedback and strategic input on the steps ahead. And I hope that administration will consider engaging with those folks. You know, it's a big decision tonight, but there are many steps to come yet that we certainly want community to be involved in. A question as well with regard to the need for early decision making soon about any minor changes in those two areas that Monsieur Godin mentioned. I'm just wondering if that requires council, if that requires more decision from council this evening, or if that would be back to the administration to proceed with. Thank you.
Monsieur Godin?
Merci, Monsieur Maire. I would definitely say that if there are changes that merit consideration, once we're giving out a contract for a specific scope, so if there are changes to be considered, we would definitely be looking for a direction from council on that, and not undertaking that on our own. I believe that any changes would probably the scope of the change will change this impact, but any change that is to the design will will generate some additional costs, right? So it would definitely have to come from council as far as providing direction to the administration to have those consultations with the consultants and the GC.
Thank you. Councillor Lauren, you're good. Councillor Lalonde.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to, just to that point, I have a few comments I want to make and a couple questions I want to ask, but to the point that was just made now, I remember last week, you know, the caution that was sent our way about, you know, the contingency of $4 million and a bit, the challenge of thinking that some of that or all of it or part of it could be used on some change requests or considerations on some of the points, the dressing room size or the seating, that money really maybe shouldn't be used for that purpose to the extent that it might be needed for other reasons. You know, ce qu'on dit en français, des imprévus, des ajustements. So I don't know. I took the comments of last week and recently quite seriously about the fact that contingency amount is really not designed to serve those purposes, but really to be kept as a sort of some careful funds in the back pocket to recognize some unforeseen, you know, issues or challenges. I hope I'm correct in still thinking that way.
Monsieur Godin.
Merci, Mr. Mayor. And that's a great point, Councillor Lalonde, and you are correct. If we were to consider a change, for example, if that change were to cost, if we were to receive an estimate that the change would add an additional $200,000, for example, to the project cost, I would be recommending that if that were the case, we look at the financial plan to see if our financial plan can absorb that $200K plus that 5% contingency that we're planning on the whole project, right? Because the 5% is there given the fact that this is a construction project that's going to go on for 2 years, and there can always be some unforeseen events there.
That makes sense. Thank you very much. Councillor Lalonde.
Okay, now for a couple comments. I know it's been said, but I want to echo it from my part too, that I'm really grateful for the staff time on all the questions that were asked. I asked a lot of them myself. I was pleased with the amount of detail that was provided. I'm pleased at some of the really good questions that came from the public as well. There were quite a few of them, and the quality of those questions was at a high level, so I really appreciate what we were able to get out of the public. So thanks to the CAO, Director Parks, Director Finance, the Mayor, the councillors as well for some great insight there. It's a real pleasure for me to be a part of all this. I think staff has done their due diligence. I think we've all done our due diligence as much as we can. I mean, when I look at you know, we've covered things like borrowing capacity and debt management and our reserve funds, and we've gotten down into the nitty-gritty on some of these things. I appreciate too that you know, our recent audit comes back giving our township, our staff, strong marks for fiscal responsibility and keeping our financial health at a high level to make us the envy of a lot of municipalities right now. It's kind of exciting. You know, I haven't been involved in this thing for as long as some of my fellow councillors, but it's still quite exciting to see us at a point where we have the ways and the financial means to actually undertake a capital investment project, the likes of which this township has never seen, you know. So that's exciting, it's significant, and I think this is the time to do it. The only other thing I want to say before I ask my two questions, if you can bear with me, is that you know, we have a budget. We have a budget. It's like buying a house, buying a car. It's like anything. We have a budget. It's 86 or 84 million or 85.3 or whatever it is, but that's the zone. And with the financing that puts us up, and we have to stick to that. You know, the idea of adding this on or taking stuff away. I mean, people have to remember we had to take away $11 million a little while back. That's how serious we took the project to make sure we stayed on track, because that's the amount of money we have to spend. And I like to be conservative like some of the other members and our staff, that we have to stick to that. The 5 million, like I said earlier, is very little wiggle room on a project that's going to last 2 years, that's going to cost 86 million. We'll have to be very careful of that. I mean, it would have been nice to add on some seats, both in the swimming pool area and one of the ice surfaces, but I think we got close to what we needed, maybe not what we wanted, which I echo the previous mayor's comments back last fall. I think we're getting what we need. We're maybe not getting exactly what we would have liked to have had, but hey, you know, if it means that we're getting all the kids and adults and seniors into the indoor pool facility who have never seen that before in our township in great numbers, and if it means getting a lot more kids on the ice and adults and old-timer hockey leagues onto 3 NHL surfaces, but maybe not having enough room for some of the spectators, I can live with that. I can live with that. I think we checked off the most important boxes of all, which was getting more people onto ice surfaces more of the time, and the same for the pool. So I'm really good with that. That being said, I just had a couple questions, make it quick. One is, you know, we talk about some of the Parks and Rec Reserve being used for the purposes of the rec complex, and I'd just like to maybe through the CAO or Monsieur Dagenet to appreciate a little better, you know, what proportion of the Park and Rec DC funds would be going to the rec complex. I say that because there'll be a lot of residents saying, you know, I don't want to see all of that money that's parked over there all be unloaded into the one facility when we still need other things around our township. So please tell me that it'll be a shared experience and that it won't all be drained into the rec complex. So that would be my first question, the
Monsieur-
proportion of funds.
Monsieur Dagenet, Madame Guittard?
The goal is not to allocate 100% of our DC revenue of the Park and Rec Department in the rec complex. We are aware of and anticipate other capital projects in the Parks and Recreation Department, and it would not be prudent for us to invest all of it in this new project. According to the latest DC study in 21, 85% of the DC revenue are projected to be allocated to the rec complex. In 23, as an example, over 91,000 from DC revenues have been invested in capital projects for the Parks and Rec Department. And in 24, we anticipate this amount to increase to over 170,000.
Merci. Follow-up, Conseiller Lalonde?
Thanks. So that's good for that question. My second and last question then was just, and I'm not sure who'll be answering it, but you know, there's been a lot of talk about the wastewater management, wastewater treatment, the concern over that, and at the speed at which we're growing in the township, how much longer we'll have the current system working well for us. I just want to get clarification again of how many more years at the current rate of growth can we expect the wastewater treatment facilities to meet our projected demand? I remember hearing something like 6 or 7 years, and I'd just like to get that clarified if my understanding was correct or if it's more or less than that amount.
Monsieur Bourgon, Monsieur Godin?
I don't have the exact year, but it's roughly 10 depending on the growth. There's improvement to be made along the way, but before we reach our capacity, it's about 10 years until everything needs to be implemented. Again, it depends on the growth as well.
Your point in saying depends on the growth, assuming the current growth. I think
Yeah,
is what
exactly.
Conseiller Lalonde is asking. Is that
Oh,
10 years
sorry, yeah.
assuming the current growth?
Assuming, current growth.
Okay, merci. Okay, Councillor Lauren, then I'll say my piece.
Yeah, I just have 2 points touching on things that Councillor Lalonde said. So from a DC perspective, just to confirm, when the DC study is done, we create the amounts that we require based on our projected needs of the township, and we're not taking money away from other sectors, we add them, we put them all into the actual DC study and say, this is how much we're going to put into each one of those. We can't just go and take 100,000 from another project and pull it into our project, correct? It's got to, if we say it's the rec complex and it's $50,000, we can't go and say, well, I need another 50,000 from another project. I'm just going to pull it in and take away from it. It's got to be done within that study and within the implemented DC charge, correct?
Mr. Gaudet?
Yep, through you, Mr. Mayor. So that's partially correct. So there is flexibility as far as making adjustments or adding projects or adjusting amounts that were estimated from the study. But in a general sense, that is correct, yes. So, but it's specific to departments. The Parks and Rec department,
Right.
for example, has its own DC reserve. Water has their own DC reserve. Wastewater has their own DC reserves. We can't take money from the wastewater DCs to pay for a recreation project, for example. That's definitely true.
Okay.
But there is a certain flexibility built into there where we can, and which is good for us, where we can adjust when we do see certain needs or certain forecasting that we're maybe off. We could always either reopen up the DC study and reevaluate our needs, reevaluate the rates, or we can add some projects onto that capital list if we do see that need.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
One more. So just touching on the other point that Councillor Lalonde meant about, or said about the ice pads and bringing people onto the ice. And I think it's actually a little bit more than that. It's bringing our residents who are purchasing ice in other municipalities back to our municipality. So when I look at, so if you look at every association that we have, they're buying ice in other municipalities. Let's bring those recreation dollars back to our township and put it in our facility. So I look at the AA's, the AAA's, that kind of stuff. They're all buying ice in other municipalities. Why? Because we don't have the ice. We're gonna have the ice now. Let's bring them back and skating on our rinks and putting their tax dollars back into our municipality. And I think that's a win if that happens. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, a few points for me. Are we able to put the loan piece back up, or is that just the total of the project and the loan amount? Oh, I think that yeah, that's good. Excellent. Thank you. So I just want to kind of reiterate make sure that I fully understand. So our project is $104 million, and up until now we've managed to, and our loan is going to be 86, and so based on that, 86 out of 104 percentage-wise. What is that? Yeah, Mr. Gaudet?
Yeah, sorry, Mr. Mayor. So I just wanted to correct one thing. So the loan isn't going to be 86. 86 million is the contract for the construction.
Yes, I'm
But,
sorry.
yeah, so the loan is about 79,000 million.
79 million. So 79 million out of $104 million project, correct? So we're looking percentage-wise, what is that? 79, okay. So in other words, if we put that in terms that we can all relate to, basically we're going to buy a house, or we're going to build a house, but we've put 20% down already. Is that correct? Okay, so that seems pretty good. That seems pretty good approach, and I think that's a positive, and that started back in 2018 with the financial plan already kind of being developed, working towards this. So congratulations to the team on that. I'm very confident based on that kind of approach that we're doing that. Not, although the debt will be there because of the size of the project, I think, this shows that our approach has been measured all the way through. The other thing I'd like to point out, in that loan, and in all of this costing, at no point do we talk about possible grants or private partnerships. And this is something that I want to reiterate that we would like to see us aggressively pursue now that we, assuming we award this contract. I'd like to go back to something that Councillor Deakin mentioned at the last meeting, I believe, around the story. We need to create the story behind this. We need to, as a community, show excitement about this to get upper tier governments involved in this project. We talked about the $200 million that was set aside by the Ford government in the last budget. We need to go get some of that. We need to aggressively go after that, and I think that's very important. And that amount, and I think that potential amount, is something that we could look at should it come up, depending on the timing and everything else, would certainly put us in a much better financial position. You know, if there are some additional tweaks that could be done if that money shows up, because we're all working together towards getting that money, I think there's opportunity there as well. So I just wanted to highlight those two things. I'm good. Any other final comments from members of council? No, thank you very much. Again, thank you very much to the team. Appreciate that. So this item will be pulled and voted on separately. Thank you. All right. Moving along, item 11B, étude de la demande de marché de détail, rapport ICODEV 2024-05, que le conseil reçoive rapport ICODEV 2024-05 daté du 24 juin pour information. Commentaire, M. Dagenet?
We're going to present B and C at the same time.
OK.
Excusez. So for EcoDev, for report EcoDev 2405 and 06, we have invited Barry Nabashian, Director of the Market Research Division at Shore Tanner and Associate, to present the upcoming report. These reports include a retail market demand study and a hotel market demand study. He will summarize these studies for you and allow you to ask him questions directly. For us, the EcoDev team, we will distribute these two studies to local businesses and investors to keep them informed about the recommended retail business for the township of Russell, ensuring they complement existing businesses well. We also intend to recommend adding a budget allocation in 25 for subscribing to a platform that searches the internet for commercial information on large companies seeking expansion, which would align with the business recommended in the Shore Tanner and Associate studies.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'll move to item 11C, étude de demande de marché de l'hôtellerie, rapport ICODEV 2024-06. So I will ask Mr. Barry if you want to come and present for both of these items. Thank you.
Bonsoir tout le monde. Je m'appelle Barry Nabatian. Mon français, malheureusement, n'est pas assez bien. Alors, je vais parler en anglais, okay? Merci beaucoup. Thank you for the opportunity to do this, to come and present you the two incomplete reports, and I mentioned why two incomplete. The retail industry everywhere is in crisis right now. And it all is because of the pandemic and the increase in mortgage rates. However, there are many, many benefits to having retailers, especially retailers who live here. And that means small retailers. They keep the money here. They live here. They provide part-time job for your children. And in every respect, they are really good for the economy of this town. Basically, retailers are quite sick and tired of so many regulations from the government, so many hardship from the banks, so many hardship from huge, huge companies like Amazon. Everybody is telling them what to do, and it results in having less profit, and therefore their viability is in danger. Having said that, fortunately, in some respects, Russell Township is in a better situation, but it's fragile. It should not be taken for granted. And I will say why we think that Russell Township is doing better than the last couple of years. Russell Township's total population in 2019 was almost 19,600. Today, it's estimated that it's 22,000. That means more than 1,000 growth in the last few years, which is great. Not many people have that kind of growth for themselves. There is another factor that that you may not be aware of, and that is that on an average basis, approximately 2,000 Ottawa residents move to your county, to the county. And I assume that a lot of them would be in Russell Township because of the services that you provide. There are also people from the county who go to Ottawa, but they just go there for work, but they live here, they come back here. So in a way, you're gaining some population from the city of Ottawa. In terms of population projection, although in each of the last few years it was over 1,000, but for the next 10 years, we don't think it will be 1,000 a year, but it will be close. We estimate that it will be 850 people added to this township every year, and that's pretty significant. Of course, population is important, but a lot of the characteristics of it are very important as well. Households consist of populations, and one-person and two-person households in 2021 made up 55% of all households. In other words, family households consisting of 3 or more people are already in a minority. Now, it doesn't mean that that's going to continue, but what it definitely means is that the number and percentage of single-person and two-person households is going to increase, and that means demand for apartments and small houses is going to increase.
Mr. Nabatian, can I just request, because all council had a full, had the time to read all the reports, so we don't have to go through all the details with all due respect.
Okay.
Just maybe the highlights and the recommendations would be great. Thank you.
Okay. Let me just make one thing that you may not be aware of. Prior to the pandemic, each of us in Ontario used to spend 5% of our dollar at retail stores. At ordering people like Amazon, etc. During the pandemic, it went to 20%. Since then, it has been coming down, but now it's 12%. So from 5%, it's now 12%, which means a lot of money is taken away from the retailers. Our recommendations, since you know all the other things, are very briefly. There is no job creation more important and as effective as housing. Housing, the more housing you make, the more wealth is created. And when there is construction, it's usually 6 out of 10 are construction workers. 4 out of 10 are other people, people who make refrigerators or snow removal or all of the other things. So I know that you obviously have been taking good care of the developers because they keep coming back. I think that the only complaint that developers in general, I'm not saying your developers have, is that they wish things were happening faster, especially now that mortgage is so expensive. I think that the township should try to offer training and seminars for the retailers. The reason is that they don't have the time or the money themselves, and in many places that's what the governments do, municipal as well as provincial. One of the things that is missing in this town is that retailers do not communicate enough with each other. They do not know enough about each other. And as a result, they do not refer potential clients to each other. This is something that happens in many places, and I think it can be fixed fairly quickly. I think that this township should give serious consideration to the creation of a BIA, Business Improvement Group. I know there is a cost involved, but the cost will be more than compensated by the benefits. I think a BIA person can bring the retailers together and help them do the things that they want to do. We did a retailer study for this township 5 years ago in 2 sections, and we have done the same thing this year. Only 1 section has been approved, and the section that has been approved is what you have read. But one of the things that I think is needed is this. Retailers are here from everybody, but nobody, based on my knowledge, on the whole, listens to retailers, listens to what they need, listens to how they can be helped. 5 years ago, this was the second phase of the retailer study that we did, and I think that now is a good time to do the same thing for the retailers, to interview them and to find out what their problems are, what they think their solutions are, and how can they improve their business and bring more money to this area. If you were to approve this, it will be $6,000, just exactly as we did 5 years ago. We have not increased our numbers. In terms of the hotels, both times we did a very brief review of hotels. Neither one of them is a detailed hotel study, and I think the timing is still not quite yet. But when the new exercise places are created, close to that time, I recommend that you should have a detailed hotel study to find out what type of hotel can be supported here, at what cost, and what they do that. A few years ago, this was talked about, but because of the new one a little further west, it was decided not to do it, because that one is doing quite well. But now, I think as a result of the Ford facility and other things, I think they are reaching capacity. I think that in another 6 months to a year, year and a half, the timing would be very good for this township to commission a hotel study. With that, I say thank you again for your opportunity, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you very much. Members of council, questions, comments? Councillor Deakin?
Just with regard to the recommendation on the business improvement areas, I was wondering if there's an update from administration on what steps have been taken in that regard, or if they're seeing appetite for that among the local retailers.
Thank you, Councillor Deakin. Monsieur Godin, Monsieur Dagenet?
Yes, there was a meeting that took place with Mark Kelly, the Prescott-Russell Chamber of Commerce, and we had discussed this topic. He had recommended that we start with the 417 Industrial Park, and that Mark be the leader, and that we find other leaders in the park to lead approximately 4 meetings per year. I haven't done any follow-ups on this in the last couple of months, so I'll bring an update in a future council meeting.
Mr. Jet, so this would be the industrial park as opposed to a retail-specific kind of BIA. Is there anything done specifically on the retail side? No.
Not that I don't believe so.
Monsieur Godin, je ne sais pas si vous avez la réponse, mais est-ce qu'on n'a pas une chambre de commerce ici active en ce moment?
Merci, M. Mass. Donc oui, puis la Chambre de commerce dont M. Kelly fait partie, c'est la Chambre de commerce de Prescott-Russell.
Merci. Did you have something else to add, Councillor Deakin?
I thought it was interesting, the piece on, that Monsieur Dagenet mentioned regarding a call out to potential retailers, for example, to come in through this matching tool. So I'm looking forward to hearing more about that at budget time, especially understanding that the retail study, basically as soon as it's put to print, it's out of date. We have a lovely new cafe opening, for example, in Russell as well now, and just wanting to make sure that those calls, you know, those, if we go fishing or express on any tool, that we want that to be reflective, like à jour, of what's already here and how those needs are being met.
Thank you very much. Any other comments? So we are receiving these two reports. Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you.
Nabatian. Much appreciated. Okay, moving along to item D. Bylaw to exempt certain lands from part lot control, PD 2024, referred to number 16 bylaws, 1520 to 1528, Quarry Street and Russell. Questions, comments, members of council? Anything to add from administration? No? Item E, zoning bylaw amendment, report PD 2024-15, 342, Route 500, Russell. Questions, comments, members of council? Anything to add from the administration? Merci. Changement de zonage, rapport PD 2024-16, 327, Route 500, Russell, que le conseil reçoive le rapport PD 2024-16 daté du 24 juin 2024 et adopte les modifications au règlement de zonage suivant. 1. La partie retenue de zone agricole générale exception 24-AR, A2-24-AR à zone agricole générale avec exception 52-AR, A2-52-AR pour interdire tout usage résidentiel sur le lot retenu partie B. Et numéro 2, la partie détachée de la zone agricole générale exception 24-AR, A2-24-AR à zone agricole générale AR, A2-AR, puisque le nouveau lot séparé, partie respectera toutes les dispositions générales du règlement de zonage 2018-94. Questions, comments, members of council? Anything to add from administration? Merci. Moving to, did I miss F? Oh, c'est bon. J'ai rien manqué, hein? J'ai fait F comme il faut, oui. Juste confirmer, j'ai fait... OK, ouais, c'est ça, c'est beau. On est rendu à G. Zoning Bylaw Amendment Report PD 2024-17, 1261 Notre-Dame in Embrun. That council receives report PD 2024-17 dated June 24th, 2024 and approve a zoning bylaw amendment to change the zoning from agricultural industrial zone MA to agricultural industrial exception 3 MA-3 to permit bulk storage tanks, propane cylinder exchange facility handling and transfer propane and natural gas. Questions, comments, members of council? Hearing none. Anything to add from the administration? Thank you. Moving to item H, bylaw assuming a public highway, report PD 2024-25, Sainte-Thérèse Boulevard in Embrun. That council receives report PD 2024-25, dated June 24, 2024, and adopt the proposed bylaw indicating Block 140 of Plan of Subdivision 50 M-320, PIN 69013-0604, save and accept Part 150R 11390 as a public highway, and that the bylaw be registered on title. Questions, comments, members of council? Hearing none. Anything from the administration? Thank you. Item I, demande d'exemption sur le règlement sur les bruits, rapport PIC 2024-05, Fête du Canada, qui aura lieu le 30 juin et le 1er juillet 2024, que le conseiller reçoive le rapport PIC 2024-05 daté du 24 juin 2024 et approuve tel que recommandé dans ce rapport la demande d'exemption au règlement sur le bruit présentée par le Russell Lions Club de 23h à minuit 30 le dimanche 30 juin 2024 au lundi 1er juillet 2024 pour permettre des activités musicales extérieures. Questions, comments, members of council? Seeing here none? Oh, sorry, Councillor Laurent, please, floor is yours.
We pull this one out, and I'll make a amendment request when we get to it.
Okay, thank you. And so we'll pull item I out. Thank you. Okay, moving forward. Item J, noise exemption for Canada Day event report PIC 2024-06, Canada Day event hosted by Homestead Pub on July 1st, 2024. That council receives report PIC 2024-06 dated June 24th, 2024, and approve as recommended in this report the noise exemption request submitted by Homestead Pub from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. on July 1st, 2024. Questions and comments, members of council? Councillor Laurent.
Yes, I'd just like to ask Mr. Mayor through Mr. Godin, maybe Madame Bourdeau, what is the time allowed for them to have music, and is it extended outside of those timelines?
Monsieur Godin, Madame Bourdeau.
As indicated in the report, the time is 11 p.m., but since this event might generate more noise than usual, our bylaw has an ambient noise section in it, and this may go beyond this ambient noise section of the bylaw. So that's why I'd rather see an exemption so they can have their event, and we did speak with the owner and they understand this. So hopefully we won't have any noise complaints about this event.
Merci beaucoup,
Yeah.
Madame Bourdeau. So, is there a reason it finishes at 9? Do they close at 9 p.m. that night?
I'm not sure why they close it. They asked until 9, but
That was their request.
I believe after 9 they anticipate closing the doors also.
OK, c'est beau. Merci beaucoup. OK, any additional questions or comments, members of council? No? Merci. OK, we'll keep going. Item K, noise exemption for motorcycle charity event report PIC 2024-07, Homestead Pump to host a motorcycle charity event on August 10th, 2024. That council receives report PIC 2024-07 dated June 24th, 2024, and approve as recommended in this report the noise exemption request submitted by Homestead Pub for August 10th, 2024 to be conditional that the exemption request for Canada Day event does not generate noise complaints. Questions, comments, members of council? Seeing Conseiller Lalonde.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just waiting for us to get through all of them to really kind of talk about it in general terms. It seems to me that we're seeing more and more requests for exemptions on noise bylaw to extend what used to be for years, something ending at 11 o'clock. Now we're getting them till 12:30. We're getting some till 1 in the morning in the case of, I think, the fair. And just wanted to, I'm wondering, we don't hear from neighbors. They don't get to come and comment on this stuff. I guess they don't get any advance notice per se. I know we had some complaints last year about a 2-day music festival that I think was held in a local park. It seems to be the case that it's becoming more popular to use either barn facilities or park places. Now, private buildings for events where they're requesting noise bylaw exemption. I had thought, and so I guess two parts. One is the ambient noise issue in the bylaw. Is that something that kicks in after 9 o'clock, or is it a requirement around the clock that they not make noise to the extent that it starts to disturb neighbors? So that would be just clarification on the ambient noise. And the other is when it comes to private parties, I didn't expect, or I didn't think, it wasn't my understanding that they were eligible to begin with to make applications for noise bylaw exemptions. I thought that was offered to public gatherings or gatherings that involve the public, like Canada Day. So if I could get clarification on those 2 points.
Alors, through you, Monsieur Godin, Madame Bourdeau.
Yes, so for the first question, the ambient noise is entire day long. It's not 9 o'clock, or it's the ambient noise in the section. How it applies is if I stand on Notre Dame Street, the ambient noise is much louder than if I stand on a residential street in the back. So this is how we gauge ambient noise. So this noise exemption is commercial property on a busy street, so the ambient noise would be higher than residential property. I don't believe we have ever brought noise exemption for residential properties, private parties in that sense. We've had some brought forward from other commercial establishment in the past. So I think that's where we're at right now. It's a new establishment, and they're asking for a noise exemption. Now, that's why I wrote in the second report that the exemption is subject to not having complaints from the first event. So they have 2 events, so hopefully for them that they don't get noise complaints from the first event, so the exemption can go ahead for the second event.
Merci. Conseiller Lauren.
So I asked for the other one to be pulled out, knowing that there's going to be other questions, but the Canada Day event prior, like June 30th for the Lions request, I believe this would be their second year of them doing that, if I'm not mistaken.
Madame Bourdeau.
I believe so. I would have to verify, but I believe so.
And do we know, and I don't think we would know right now, but do we know if we had any complaints last year on that project or that request?
I can't say for sure, but if it was something major,
we would have known about it.
Well, we would put it in the report.
Okay, so that's what I'm going to ask. I don't need to pull this one out if the rest of council's fine with it. I don't need to pull it out. We can keep it in. But what I would like going forward, when the noise requests, and we can ask this, what I would like to see is if this is a recurring request, I'd like to know if there are any complaints the previous year. That will give me a better indication of whether or not I would say yes or no to it. Right? My concern was going till 12:30. Maybe 12 might have been a better time, but if they went to 12:30 last year, they had no issues for that one night, then I'm okay for this year. But going forward, I'd like to know if there were any issues the year before, and that might give us a better indication of whether we want to give that extension or whether we stick to the 11 o'clock or go to 12 o'clock. So maybe that's more of the direction that's what I would like to see going forward for any noise requests. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lauren. I think that's a reasonable request. Does that make sense, Madame Bourdeau, that we can add that information for moving forward?
Yes, and I'm pretty confident that if there would have been major issues issuing these exemptions, we would have put a note in the report advising you that there has been issues in the past.
Okay, merci beaucoup. Alors, so moving forward, there'll be a little section, yes or no, type of thing.
Yes.
Okay. Other members of council? All right, so we are not pulling this item or any of the noise ones out. Okay, merci beaucoup. All right, moving to item I, St. Thomas Route 200 Culvert Rehabilitation Report ISPW 2024-13. That council receives report ISPW 2024-13 dated June 24th, 2024, and award the contract to Fernand Gilbert Limité for the culvert rehabilitation for a total of $389,725 plus $6,859.16, totaling $396,584.16. This amount includes a 1.76% of non-refundable HST. Questions, comments, members of council? Seeing, hearing none. Anything from the administration, Monsieur Godin, Monsieur Bourgon?
Merci, Monsieur le maire. Donc, je voudrais juste préciser aux membres du conseil que le montant dans les résolutions est le bon. J'ai oublié de faire le changement là, à la fin du rapport. Donc,
OK.
Ce que vous voyez dans les recommandations et l'implication financière est le bon montant.
OK, merci. Any comments from that comment? No? OK, moving forward to item M, rapport de l'ingénieur de la branche Eastwood, ED, rapport ISPW 2024-14, que le Conseil reçoive le rapport ISPW 2024-14 daté du 24 juin 2024 et approuve en troisième et dernière lecture le projet de règlement 2024-031 visant à modifier le drain municipal de la branche Eastwood ED. Questions and comments, members of council? Anything to add? Merci. Alors, on continue. And recreational trail encroachment update report, PR 2024-01, that council received report PR 2024-01 dated June 24th, 2024, and approved for resolution 1, to issue a letter to all property owners along Township of Russell Recreational Trail and hereby notifying them to cease and refrain from erecting new structures and landscaping on Russell Township property. 2, to issue the attached draft letter to each resident who is encroaching as per PR 10/2023 dated September 25th, 2023. And 3, to present a permit option with possibility to install a culvert, including some inspections at the property owner's cost. Questions, comments, members of council? Councillor Deakin.
Thank you. I have a question on the third part of the resolution, presenting a permit option with the possibility to install a culvert. And looking through the bylaw that it was referring to, it refers in the bylaw at different places, different definitions of course, culvert, but also referring to entranceways as being also bridges or other structures. And my question is, back when we were talking about this, I believe last fall, I'm just wondering why we're looking at why the language here refers to culvert only. Because in that discussion, I think that bridge structures were quite prominent in our discussion, and my understanding had been that the spirit of the next steps that council provided included bridge inspections, permits, or removals as is the case. So I just would like clarification on that.
Thank you, Councillor Deakin. Madame Guittard, through you, Mr. Godin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Yes, so we did have discussions about bridges and culverts. We did have a discussion with our colleagues from infrastructure. Obviously, with bridges, it means more assessments to be done, more inspections, and we do not have, within the department, we do not have that expertise. So it was recommended that we offer the culvert system. It would be more, it would be easier. There's no constant need of inspection. Our staff could do it. The standards are easier to understand. It's also a very natural way to install an access to the nature trail, and it's very easy to maintain. The costs are so, that, like we mentioned in the report, it would be $100 for a permit application and then a $200 prior and final inspection fee. So this is why we were leaning more towards that recommendation to access the nature trail.
Merci. Follow-up?
I'm just thinking along in the trail as it goes into Russell, for example, there are some spots where putting in a culvert would be fairly minimal for an owner, I believe, to cover those costs, and then other spaces where there's quite a significant job that would need to be done. And so just so that we're clear, this would be, those folks with bridges would have to remove the bridges and replace them with culverts?
Technically, yes, yeah. We would need to get them to remove, because we can't allow one to have a bridge and the other one not to have a bridge. So we need to be constant in our decision and say that all bridges would have to be removed, and we would go for everyone to have a culvert system that would be inspected. So this way also we make sure that the water flow is done properly in our ditch, that the maintenance is a lot lower to do. So that's why we decided. And we had given you as an example the entrance bylaw, so because it's an example, of course, it's not exactly the same thing, but it's something similar that we'd be using. And we would probably be bringing the bylaw, and then the bylaw would be probably incorporated with the entrance bylaw from infrastructure.
Thank you, Madame Guittard. Councillor Lauren.
So we take, or the resident takes down a bridge that they've built, and then they build the culvert, or we build the culvert? We build the culvert.
We installed the culvert, yeah.
Okay, and the cost is, to the resident, is the permit fee?
The permit plus the 2 inspections.
Plus the 2 inspections.
Yeah.
So $300
Yeah.
essentially
That's right.
on a culvert that would probably cost more than that.
Well, the fee has been established. My operation manager did work out some fee schedule with the infrastructure supervisor.
Thank you.
Oh, just to follow up on that.
Follow-up?
And we're comfortable that we can create these types of entrances across the entirety of the trail for anyone who has or requests a bridge, or sorry,
Culvert.
a way to get across from the trail to their property.
Madame Guittard, Monsieur Bourgon?
Okay, so maybe I made a mistake there. They would do it themselves, but definitely the inspection and the permit fee would be cost to them. Yeah, sorry.
But Madame Guittard, the question was, are we confident that every single resident has the ability to do that space-wise and so on, using this particular approach? Is that correct, Councillor Lawrence?
Well, not just that. If the objective is to ensure standardization of entrances across the trail, how are you going to get that if everyone is building it themselves?
Well,
Madame
if I,
Guittard?
I'm sorry, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. If I probably look into infrastructure, what they do there, so they get someone to do it, and they have to do it as per the standard required. And then when we pass the inspection, if it's not appropriate, I would guess, well, then they need to change the way it was done, or to amend it.
And is this a different, sorry, Mr. Mayor, is this a different approach than what we talked about at the last, in September? Because I don't remember this being the standard, and if that's what is being recommended now, that's a change that I need to further absorb.
Madame Guittard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So I think what we had suggested, we were looking into the culvert system. We had mentioned bridges, we had mentioned culvert. And like I explained before, we did look at the 2 options, but bridges is way more complicated. And it could also be way more expensive Because if we establish some certain standards, it would be probably more expensive for the resident.
Thank you. So when we looked at bridges, I remember we talked about like the issue with the existing whatever people had built is that potential liability because it is our property. And so the culvert process is essentially a buried tube with gravel on top. And so there is limited liability from our perspective. It still remains our property. And it ensures that flow of water. So, okay, any other questions? Conseiller Lalonde?
Yeah, I have to say that we talked about standardizing what the bridge might look like if we decided to go that way, and that they'd have to get their plans from township, or that we'd be setting the standard for that. Hadn't thought a lot about culverts, to be honest. I'm thinking now it's probably a really good compromise, as long as we still set the standard as to how it goes in. And I really like the idea of a more natural looking setting. You're just trying to get across from your property onto the trail, as opposed to some of these elaborate bridges with lights on them, which kind of takes away from the natural look of the trail, as well as all the other dilapidated ones that some are broken down and blocking river flow. So I actually like the idea a lot of the culvert, and probably the economy of it as well. I expect it would be a less expensive venture. And so if we are going to set a standard that they have to meet, and they'll have those regulations or requirements ahead of time, I would support that.
Thank you. Any other comments? Councillor Deakin.
Again, with regard to number 3, I don't think that I have enough time and understanding of the approach to include that, so I would like that to be pulled, if possible.
So pulling item N.
Yes, thank you.
Is that correct? Okay, everyone, we're good with pulling item N. All right, moving to item O, Community Grants Report PR 2024. I'm sorry, well, we'll pull it, we'll talk some more if there's more chatting to do on that. So item O, Community Grants Report PR 2024-07. That council receives report PR 2024-07 dated June 24th, 2024, and approve an additional ad hoc grant of the amount of $113 to the Marionville Community Club for their annual Canada Day celebrations. Questions, comments, members of council? Hearing, seeing none. Anything to add, Madame Guital?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, not at this time.
Thank you. All right, so that concludes all the items. So just going back, Madame Camille Laflamme, we are pulling items A. And that's right. So items A and N.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, perfect. So I'll call the question. So
That will be just at number 15, though.
merci. All right. So number 12, reports from an investigator or the ombudsman. And then, so 12A, an integrity commissioner complaint dated June 12th, 2024, that council receives for information purposes the letter dated June 19th, 2024, received on June 21st, 2024 by the clerk's office from James McCarthy of Cunningham, Swan, Carthy, Little and Bonham LLP, the Integrity Commissioner for the Township of Russell, with respects to file 2024-01 regarding the tender for the ground improvement scope for the Russell Recreation Complex. Questions, comments? Councillor Lauren.
I assume the administration will look at this complaint and come back to council with a report? Is that how that would work?
Madame Laflamme.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Councillor Lorrain. So no, the complaint was dismissed, if you look at the letter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
Well, they dismissed it.
Yes.
However, is that something that staff and the township needs to look at if somebody's questioning the process that was undertook?
No, that's a complaint that was to the Integrity Commissioner. So we just send it to them, they report on it, and we provide the council.
Thank you.
And it was dismissed by the integrity because it's out of the
Out of scope.
jurisdiction.
Thank you very much. Any other questions, comments on this item? Thank you very much. Number 13, notice of motions. There aren't any. Councilor Lauren.
Sorry, just before you went to number 14.
Yep.
And I know, and I'm only suggesting this or saying this because I know the last time we had a discussion on this, there were many questions in the public realm, social media or whatever, regarding the fact that people weren't allowed to ask questions and their assumption on the item at 15C. So the last time we had to make a decision, it was after the question period. And I just wanted to remind the public that they can ask questions on anything that is on the agenda during the question period, even if council hasn't discussed it yet, other than notices of motion, of course.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Lauren. That's a good clarification. All right, so we're going to item 14, question period on meeting of the day. So questions must be in relation to items on the agenda, either previous or past this number. Before asking any questions, please fill in your name and address on the sign-in sheet. If you wish to receive a response from a member of council or staff, please leave a phone number, email on the sheet. State your name before asking your question. And finally, a disclaimer: by asking questions during the council meeting, you are consenting to be part of the live broadcast and the official public recording of the proceedings. Thank you. Mr. Armstrong.
Good evening. I will fill that out right after, just to let the meeting continue. First one, on 11A, just one really quick question. What is the estimated value of the building permits that would otherwise occur for a building such as this? Do you know?
Through you, Monsieur Godin. Monsieur Dejean?
Yes, the estimate price was around between 100,000 to 120,000.
Thank you. My next question is on 11N, and is there a code, a building code in Ontario, for culverts for pedestrian crossings
Monsieur
that would be
Bourgon?
considered here?
I would probably apply the similar standard that we see for our road culverts or entrance culvert, but to answer the exact question, I'll have to get back.
Thank you, Monsieur Bourgon.
That would be fine. Just that I know there is one for pedestrian bridges. I was just wondering for culverts as well. The last one, and again, this is thinking well into the future. If we eventually have a stormwater management fee system, and that will cover like culverts and whatever from rural properties, et cetera, will this also be included in this sometime in the future in terms of access to the recreation trail?
I'm not sure I understand, Monsieur Bourgon. Are you?
If we apply the same logic that we see for private entrance, those culvert will remain private and it won't be the responsibility of the municipality. Therefore, won't be the responsibility to be covered by the potential user fee.
Okay,
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Armstrong. Any other questions?
I'll fill mine in after. Doug Estabrook's Route 100. Are there any capital plans, current plans, being made to the roads in the area of the new complex to allow for additional flow of traffic? And if so, are those plans included in the cost of the complex, or just buried in our taxes?
Sure. Thank you very much. Monsieur Bourgon. Monsieur Godin.
Merci, Mr. Mayor. So I'll take a shot at this one. Initially, we did have some a piece for the project for a roundabout, but with further discussions with the counties, we are conducting a traffic study at the moment. I think, and Mr. Bourgon can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not expected that be an immediate need. until further development occurs north of Castor Street. So there still is in our miscellaneous line in the financial plan some funds available for road needs, but nothing significant.
Thank you very much, Monsieur Godin.
Could I ask the magnitude of those plans, the potential costs?
Monsieur Godin, do we have that information at this time?
Regarding roads specifically, I don't have the number in front of me. We have a miscellaneous cost in a capital plan, which is for 561,000. I'm not sure of the exact breakdown of that, but it would be included in there.
Thank you.
And where were included where? The cost of the project, the sportsplex? That's buried in there now?
Hey, please address me when you're
Is
asking
that
questions.
buried in there now?
Councillor Lauren?
Yeah, I'm just clarifying the way that the question is being asked. Like I'm concerned that the way it's being asked is that we're trying to hide something.
I'm not
When you
suggesting
use
that
the
at all.
term,
No.
you use the term
Buried
burying.
twice now.
Source of the
So
word.
it is, from my
Where is
understanding,
it? Yes.
there is road allocation cost within the miscellaneous portion of the cost of the project, which has been asked and answered. So I take offense to the
So that's probably
comment of
$500,000?
burying.
It's $500,000?
There's a $500,000 cost for miscellaneous, for which roads are a piece of that in that area.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Councillor Lauren. Hearing none. All right. Okay, item 15, resolutions. So resolutions under A, so just a reminder one more time, which ones are we pulling? N and A. Okay, motion that council approve all recommendations listed on the agenda under item 11, except for N and A, reports, departments, and council committees. I need a mover and seconder. Moved by Councillor Lauren, seconded by Councillor Lalonde. All in favor? Passed.
Hold on. We got to take out the other ones first.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah,
Well,
put it
so,
on the table,
yes,
then
thank
we'll
you.
go
So I'll
right
put it on the table. Thank you, Councillor Lauren.
Yeah.
So we have a request to remove item N and A. I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Lauren moved, seconded by Councillor Lalonde. So a motion that council approve all recommendations listed on the agenda under item 11, with the exception of N and A, reports from departments and council committees. Moved by Councillor Lauren, seconded by Councillor Deacon. All in favor? Thank you. Now, we'll bring item A onto the floor. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Lauren, seconded by Councillor Lalonde. All right, so item A, let me just go back to it here.
I think that was me.
Yeah. Councillor Lauren?
Yeah, so I just wanted to clarify, because I think you had said that you wanted this as a standing item on our agendas going forward. Recreation complex update on every agenda, so, or for every meeting. So my question to Monsieur Godin, Madame Camide is, do we need to modify C to add with an update to council, or will the adding of the rec complex item on each agenda be satisfactory? Because if that's the case, I don't need to amend it. If council is comfortable with that and the direction from staff is that we'll get that update during that time, then I'm fine with approving as is.
And just clarification, you're talking about item 3.
Correct.
Part, okay. So,
Correct.
So I think that's a fair way of going forward. So we are confirming that we will have an update on the project at every meeting as a standalone item on the agenda. Mr. Godin?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So maybe this might be a question for Madame Camille Laflamme. I don't know if we need to update the procedural bylaw or anything else to make it a standing item on the agenda. I don't know that we'll have an update at every meeting, but we can definitely have it on the agenda and speak to it if there is an update to provide. As far as making that official to have it on each agenda.
Councilor Lauren?
Might I suggest at section 18, it be included on every agenda? That's council members' items,
Okay.
that we don't have to change the procedure
Monsieur
bylaw.
Godet?
Yeah, I apologize. I was listening to somebody else while you were speaking. So I think you
So-
mentioned to have it at 18.
At 18, but, I mean, we're going to be going through this project for the next 2 years, and I think, I don't know, Madame Camille-Laflamme, thoughts on, and then that would require the opening of the procedural bylaw, but
I wouldn't think so, not because you have a section already at 18.
at 18, just, okay. Okay, we can do that there.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing.
Monsieur Godet?
Through Mr. Mayor. So yeah, so I agree with including it at item 18. And we could definitely, we're expecting to have some monthly progress reports with the bills for the project, so we can definitely bring those forward to keep council informed.
And I'm okay.
So you're okay with that without actually putting any additional wording on that or amendments? Okay. So for 18, so for 11A, I will call the vote. So as presented. Sure, thank you. So we're getting a registered vote for 11A. So all in favor? All right, thank you very much. Thank you. So it is passed. All right, this is excellent. Biggest project in our township is now going to be initiated. Thank you all. All right, moving forward, the last item was item N. So item N, I need a mover and seconder to put it on the table. Moved by Councilor Lauren, seconded by Councilor Deakin. Questions and comments? Councilor Lauren.
I'd like to move to defer this item to the August meeting to give us more time to understand some of the implications, especially around item 3 in the report. So I'd like some more information on that.
Okay, and that's moved by Councilor Lauren. Do I have a seconder? Comments? Yes, go ahead, Conseiller Lalonde.
So, sorry,
is-
procedurally, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
If you want to talk to the amendment has to be seconded as well. If not, then
Okay,
it dies.
then it dies, yeah. So do we have a seconder up for the amendment?
For discussion.
Seconded by Councilor Deakin. So we have an amendment on the floor. Councilor Lalonde, comments? Thank you.
Yeah, I don't mind deferring, and I'm wondering if we can still have that part of it with regards to the letters that were supposed to go out or intended to go out to residents. Does that get held up until August time as well? Because if it does, then and we'd wanted to give them 9-10 months, then we're actually going to be pushing this back past June of 2025 into a further date. So I just want to make the point that the letters going out and the intent of those letters to see whether we can't preserve that we could approve them tonight.
Thank you, Councilor Lalonde. Thoughts on that, Madame Guittard, Monsieur Godin? I'm not sure that we can do one without the other, Madame Guittard, but I do take the point that Conseiller Lalonde is bringing. This has been dragging. It's something that needs to move forward, and so now it's going to be held up. But thoughts?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I kind of leaning a bit with Councilor Lalonde. At least a letter to notify everybody that backs up on the trail to stop encroaching or not to plan any encroaching structures or objects as of now. That would be a good start, I think. And also because, like you said, because we're going to be pushing the whole process again. And I'm not too sure if we send the other letter to the residents that are encroaching to advise them that they will be asked to remove their items. I don't think it's doing anything wrong to the culvert or bridge point.
So my only concern, though, is that if we're telling them to remove stuff, they'll want a solution, which we will not be able to present at this time. So I think that's a bit problematic. I think the cease and desist for adding any more stuff makes some sense, and we can let them know that something's coming. Any other comments? Councillor Deakin?
I took a quick peek at the letters, and neither of the letters drafted refer to next steps in terms of what options there would be for culvert or bridge or what have you in terms of inspections or removals or permits. I would like to move forward with both letters with that in mind, and come back at the first meeting and later in the summer to put together what those, sorting out what that culvert option could be. I don't see them as because the letters as drafted did not refer to a solution to begin with. I would like to proceed with those.
I think the challenge, and Madame Guitar, please speak to it if I'm wrong, but the challenge if we do send those without having an accepted plan will kind of cause staff some challenges. Madame Guitar?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. The only thing that I could foresee is that when these identified encroaching residences, if they contact us, then the ones that have bridges, obviously, we would have to tell them that a future solution will be coming up later this summer. But they still have a year to take out the bridge, so they don't have to take out the bridge like in July. That's one thing. That's one thing we could answer them for now. Everybody will have a year to retrieve and to take out all their things.
Okay, thank you. Conseiller Lalonde, and then Councillor Lauren.
Well, we could add some wording to that effect, just maybe at the bottom of one of the letters that council or staff or township is working on an option, so that we can give them the heads up that those things are being worked on, so that it would avoid then all that questioning to come into township after the fact. We just make reference to it with a short line in the letters themselves.
Councillor Lauren.
So I'm reading the letter from item 1, encroachment letter, and I note that the last line of the first one says, as the owner of the first paragraph, or second paragraph says, as the owner of the encroaching property, is essential that you take prompt action to rectify the situation. And then the last sentence of the third, or the subsequent paragraph says, therefore, we kindly request that you take necessary steps to remove the encroachment by December 31st, 2024. That's 6 months from now. So that's not a year, and it does say take immediate action without a potential option
Thank you.
to rectify their situation.
Yeah.
Thank you, Madame Guitar.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. It's because when we had talked at the September meeting in 23, we had mentioned December 24. That's why it was mentioned on the letter, 2024, December 31st. But when I made the report, I was suggesting to council and asking council if we could push this date until June 2025. So if we do push it, we will change the date on the report.
Okay. Any other comments? I'm a little concerned now that I feel we're a little discombobulated on this, and I'm concerned that moving forward with part of it, i.e. the letters, although I agree, if we had a simple letter saying that you are encroaching and that we are moving with some actions and we're expecting that these encroachments be addressed by a certain date, and will be solutions coming at the end. If it's simple and not like that, I would support that. But otherwise, I'm concerned that we're kind of not fully prepared for this in this direction. Councillor Deakin, just a couple more comments, and we'll decide on this.
Yeah, just hearing all of the different perspectives at the table, and I appreciate Madame Guitar's expertise and comments on this as well. I think that we can move forward with the first letter, the cease and refrain letter, and revisit the other two parts. My hope is later this summer at our first meeting back.
Okay, so we have a motion to defer. So we would first have to vote on this motion to defer. And so I need a It's moved and seconded. So I'll call the vote for the deferral. Or do we, or do you want to submit another adjustment to that?
No.
So motion to defer, vote for, against. And Conseiller Lalonde is not voting.
To defer the motion for.
Defer it
So
entirely.
just defer it entirely. So we will propose something different, but we are moving, right now, there's a vote or there's a motion to defer, and I called for the vote. Councillor Laurent supports the vote. Councillor Deacon doesn't support the deferral, and so against, okay, so, all right. So that motion, or that adjustment is removed. Do I have another option here? Councillor Deacon.
I would move to amend the resolution to remove parts 2 and 3, but proceed with part 1.
So perhaps what you mean is defer 2 and 3 and?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, thank
And
you.
proceed to item 1. So I've got a motion to adjust. I need mover and seconder to put that on the floor. Moved by Councillor Deacon, seconded by Councillor Lalonde. Questions and comments? Councillor Lauren.
Councillor Lauren?
Yeah, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I thought you said Lalonde.
No, I said Lauren.
Oh, sorry.
I'm pretty sure I said, and if I didn't, I apologize.
Can I confirm that council is supportive of the recommendation that the date be June 30th, 2025? In the letter for number 1?
Thank you. So confirming that we're all comfortable with June 2025. Okay, so if we can adjust item number 1 to reflect that date. So can I have someone to propose an amendment on that, on item number 1? Councillor Deacon?
Well, I think we have to do this amendment
Oh,
first
yes.
and then add it, right?
Okay. This is a tongue twister today.
Now, just to confirm, because it's in the report that staff is asking us to do that, do we need to make an amendment? We just give that direction? I don't think we need to make that amendment.
Madame Guital.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I think we could even keep that for when we defer the report in August, because on the letter, just to notify them, there's no date mentioned there. There's no deadline. The deadline was mentioned in the second letter, in the letter that we're saying that they're encroaching. This letter is just to notify them that no encroachment will be tolerated. So there's no date.
Okay.
So just so I'm clear, the amendment is to just do number 2?
Number 1.
Well, number 1 does have a date. It tells them that they need to address it immediately, and the date says December 31st, 2024.
Councillor Deacon?
This came up when I was first taking a look. So just to clarify, number 1 attachment in item N is actually linked to number 2 in the resolution. And number 2 under item N attachment, the potential notice of encroachment is linked to number 1 in the resolution. So it would be attachment 2 under the item N that we're looking at right now that doesn't have a date, a deadline.
So item number 1 is attachment number 2, correct? Can I get confirmation, please? This is terrible.
That's correct, Mr. Mayor.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you,
And we're only going to do number 1 then?
which is attachment number 2.
Correct.
All right.
Okay, thank you for the
Okay.
clarification.
All right, so we have an amendment to, or do we need, so can we defer this and just give direction to send the letters out? Monsieur Godin?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we can do that.
Okay. All in favor? So I have to put back the deferral.
Sorry.
We
I think
already
we-
have a mover,
yeah.
seconder.
We have, okay.
I think we have to vote on
To
it.
defer parts 2 and 3 and to proceed with item 1 in the motion only.
Correct.
Perfect. Okay, so I need, so that's on the table now, so I'll call the vote. for the proposal. So, all right, passed. Thank you. All right, that was fun.
Terrible?
Sure. All right, so why don't we take a 5-minute break and reconvene at 20 past the hour. Okay, resuming back. Are we good? All right, 15B, resolutions under 12. Motion that council approve all recommendations listed on the agenda item. Number 12, reports from an investigator ombudsman. I need a mover. Moved by Councilor Lurin, seconded by Councilor Deacon. All in favor? Passed. Thank you very much. Item C, direction to fill vacancy on council. One councilor reports CSAS-CL-2024-05 presented May 27th. That council of the Township of Russell proceed with option attached hereto to fill the vacancy on council. All right, questions and comments, members of council? Who would like to go first? Councilor Lurin.
I'll go first. If I'm looking at the options, can I confirm that option 1 is a by-election?
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, did we put this on the table?
Yes.
I missed the mover seconder.
Moved by Councilor Lurin, seconded by Councilor Deacon.
Thank you. Sorry, so Councilor Lorrain?
The question is option 1 to have a by-election?
No, option 1 is to advertise.
Oh, sorry.
Option 6 is to appoint,
There's 2 option 6s.
5, sorry.
By-election, okay, so there's,
There's the resolution for option 5, and then there's a bylaw if council goes with option 5.
okay. So I'm going to propose option 5. We moved with a bylaw, and that within the timeframes, I think we have up to 60 days for nomination period, and then it's a 45-day window for the campaign and election period, and then we have election day. So working backwards, I think an election day of September 30th is probably a good date, which would mean August 16th being the end of nomination period. And I don't know the dates exactly. I think it's 48 or 52 days or something like that for a nomination period. But I think we should extend it as much as possible to allow for people during the summertime to put their applications in for nominations. So I'm going to propose option 5 with an election date of September 30th.
Thank you, Councilor Lurin. Any comments from other members of council? Questions, comments? Councilor Lalonde.
I would support Councillor Lauren's proposal.
Okay, just to clarify, Madame Camille, the dates proposed by Councilor Lurin, so we can all be on the same page there. So with an election on September 30th, what date is that? What day is that, sorry? Monday. It's a Monday.
And then August 16th is a Friday.
Okay, so we would just need to confirm if that's the direction that council wants to go. I would just like to confirm that the dates meet the requirements. I assume you did the math on there. I just need to get confirmation on that. And so that's kind of where the direction is. Any other comments from members of council? Councilor Deacon.
Just a question that if we were to proceed with a by-election option, I'm assuming that we would be doing virtual voting again, and so that period would be that the last day of voting would be September 30th, but there would be a 5 or 6 day period prior to that for voting electronically?
Madame Camille Laflamme, do you have an answer for that?
Well, it says in the act that the by-election would have to be done as far as possible in the same way it was for the regular election. So yes, it would be probably by telephone and internet again. But for the period, I don't think it would be as long. Last time in 2014, we had it for 4 days. Instead of usually we start on the Wednesday and we finish on the Monday. So that's up to the clerk to decide how long the voting day and the
Okay.
nomination
Okay,
period is.
that would be the process. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Any other questions? Okay, so we have option 5 as selected with an August 16th date to close nomination and a date of September 30th for the by-election. I need a mover and a seconder to put that on the table.
We already had Councillor Lorrain
Okay,
and Councillor
Councillor-
Lalonde.
Okay, but with option 5 per se.
Yeah. Or, okay, if you want to add the 2 dates.
Yeah, well, so the
If possible, I would have to verify because I have to count. Nomination day is okay.
Okay.
It's within 30 to 60, so that's between July 24th and August 23rd. So the 16th falls there, that's okay. Voting day is 45 days after nomination, so I didn't calculate if that matches.
Okay, but so we can give direction that we're going with option 5, and you can confirm the dates.
Yeah.
That as long as the dates work. Does that make sense, Councilor Lauren?
Yeah, I think it's just, the important date is the September 30th, I think, is that date, and then just work backwards from there, whatever date for closing of nominations is, as long as it's a weekday. I'm assuming you're not gonna be open on a Saturday or Sunday, so as long as that date falls within that, then I think we're good.
Perfect. Okay, so we have option 5 on the table, so I'll call the vote. All right. Thank you. So we are moving to a by-election with a date of September 30th for the election itself. Thank you very much. Moving to bylaws. So 16A, third reading.
Mr.
Madam
Mayor,
Mayor.
then if you go ahead, you would have to go with the bylaw as well right now to add
So
it.
right away, the
Yeah,
bylaw?
to suspend the rules and add the bylaw.
Okay, so I need a mover, a seconder to suspend the rules of procedure. Councilor Lauren, seconded by Councilor Deacon. All in favor? All right, so we are going to add, do we have the bylaw?
Yes.
Do you have it there with you? Or, oh, it's up there, okay, perfect. Okay, I'm gonna need that a little bit bigger. I'm expected to read that. You can just, oh, thank you very much. All right, so whereas Section 263.5.1II of the Municipal Act 2001, SO 2001, Chapter 25 as amended, allows council to require a by-election to be held to fill the vacancy in the office of a member of council by adopting a bylaw to require a by-election, and whereas on May 27th, 2024, at its regular council meeting, council received a report CSAS-CL-2024-05 and declared vacant the office of one of the councillors of the Corporation of the Township of Russell as of May 27th, 2024, thus creating a vacancy in the office. Now therefore be it resolved that council of the Corporation of the Township of Russell enact as follows. 1, that a by-election shall be held to fill the vacancy in the office of councillor of the Corporation of Russell, of the Township of Russell, and 2, that this bylaw shall come into force and take effect upon the final reading thereof, read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed on this 24th day of June 2024. So I need a mover and a seconder, moved by Councillor Lauren, seconded by Councillor Lalonde. All in favor? Thank you, and that is passed. Thank you. C'est beau. Parfait. OK, alors on avance à item 16, bylaws. 16A, third reading bylaw 2024-031, motion that council approve bylaw 2024-031 for a third and final reading as listed on the agenda. 2024-31 being a bylaw to provide amendment to the East Branch of Wood ED Municipal Drain Report ISPW 2024-14. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Lalonde, seconded by Councillor Lauren. All in favor? Thank you. 16B, bylaw and attachments. Motion that council approve bylaws 2024-052 to 2024-059 inclusively for first, second, and third reading as listed on the agenda. 2024-52 being a bylaw to amend the committee's appointment bylaws 2022-124 to appoint persons and council representatives on various committees of council to appoint or strike out names of members from different committees. Mayor's suggestions as per S64 of the committee bylaw. 2024-053 being a bylaw to amend Public Library Board appointments. Bylaw 2022-125 to appoint Mélanie Lasselle and Don O'Donnell as members representing the public at large. Mayor's suggestion as per S 6.4 of the committee bylaw. 2024-54 being a bylaw to exempt certain lands from part lot control. PD 2024-1520-1528 Quarry Street in Russell, number 11D. 2024-55 being a zoning bylaw amendment -342, Route 500 in Russell, report PD 2024-15. 2024-56 being a zoning bylaw amendment -327, Route 500 in Russell, report PD 2024-16. 2024-57 being a zoning bylaw amendment for 1261 Notre Dame in Embrun, report PD 2024-17. 2024-058 being a bylaw dedicating Block 140 of Plan of Subdivision 50M-320, PIN 69013-0604, save and accept Part 150R11390 as a public highway, report PD 2024-25. 2024-59 being a bylaw authorizing the mayor and clerk to sign an agreement to award the contract to McDonald Brothers Construction, Inc. for $86,075,000 to perform the construction of the recreation complex, report PR 2024-09. These are moved by Councillor Lawrence, seconded by Councillor Deakin. All in favor? Passed. Thank you very much. Item 17, new business reports. We have none. Number 18A, we removed that item, so there is no other business presented by council members. Number 19, public consultation and hearings. We have none. Item 20, announcements. Any announcements, members of council? Or am I on the wrong one? No. Seeing, hearing none. Number 21, strategic discussion, none. Item 22, closed session, that's already happened. Item 23, confirming bylaw in attachment, that bylaw 2024-060 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council of the corporation of Russell Township, of the Township of Russell at its regular council meeting be held on June 24th, 2024, be read a first, second, and third time and passed. That is moved by Councillor Deakin, seconded by Councillor Lalonde. All in favor?
Mr. Mayor, can I just make an adjustment? We'll put it 61 for this one, and I'll use the 60 for the by-election bylaw. We just added,
Okay.
if you don't mind.
So just clarification that it's bylaw 2024-061. So that again is moved by Councillor Deakin, seconded by Councillor Lalonde. All in favor? And passed. All right, next regular council meeting. The next regular council meeting of the next regular public meeting of council will be held on Monday, August 2026. And on that note, we are adjourned at 8:35. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a fantastic, safe summer.
Thank you.
What's that?
It's 1-0 for who?
Oh, 1-0.
The Oilers did?
It's 1-0 for Oilers. Oh, that's fantastic.
I don't have the...